Hey guys, welcome back to the series. A lot of modern games feel more polished. They look better, they run better, they're smoother than ever, but they're harder to remember. And that happens when pacing and creativity change while chasing the wrong audience. In this episode, we're gonna break down how older games created their identity while the modern games lost theirs in terms of pacing and creativity, which is the last two rules we established in this series. Now, to explain a little bit about pacing isn't how fast the game is moving, it's how much it interrupts the players from the game itself. And this interruption can take many forms. It can be tutorials, markers, UI, dialogue, basically just anything that the game can take you out of the mood of the game. And see, older games used to create the tone, set it, and then move out of the way, let the player experience it. Modern games, however, does that, but instead of just moving out of the way, it just stops and explains the tone to the player right into his face, without letting you enjoy the moment as much as possible. You see, and every explanation resets the moment. That's why modern games feel like the pacing is off, even though it looks better. And to use it as an example of the Fallout game, I think they are the best example of how pacing works into the game. They let the world open up and explain itself through play. You stay immersed because things happen around you. A fight breaks out, an event triggers, a faction reacts, and curiosity pulls you forward. I think a lot of us have tried to focus on discovering areas in the Fallouts than moving forward with the story, because these areas had so much story within them that they kept us, curious and immersed inside the game. We want to unravel more about what happened to the vaults. We want to unravel what happened with X faction or Y faction, or why this person is the way he is. Making the player this invested in your game, in your story, in a certain lore or in a certain character is pacing done extremely well. In contrast with other games that made by the same company in the modern days, like Starfield or Avowed, the pacing shifts toward explanation. You're given long dialogue dumps early, context is front-loaded, and instead of discovering the world, you're briefed on it. That's why players rush through dialogue, not because they don't care, but because the game hasn't earned their curiosity yet. As a further example, we can use the Batman trilogy in Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Dark Knight. You are introduced in the story in a way that it starts to unravel and unfold as you play the game. Sure, there are areas where the combat is necessary and areas where the story is necessary, but it's made in such a matter that you don't get bored from it and the pacing don't become exhausting. They give you time to breathe, time to fight, and a time to understand the story even more. In contrast with what happened with Suicide Squad, you are immediately thrown into a mission. You don't understand what's going on, you don't understand what's happening, chaos everywhere, and a lot of pop-ups, tutorials, and everything comes up in your face, and you're just overstimulated to such an extent that you I would just drop the game like in the first mission and just no. You see, this is very important. Pacing is there to give creativity room to bloom, to grow, to show you what's going on in the world and how you, and what place you have in this world and where you are going and to what end you are going on this journey. It fails horribly when a game stops being an RPG game and starts being a live service game, which is most of the modern games path or audience they try to get. They wanted the audience retention. They wanted the players to just keep playing the games and never stop. Either they used battle passes, either they used first day DLC or season passes for this kind of games. It's just, I don't know. Creativity is just not there anymore. It's how much money we can make and keep on making. And unfortunately, that had killed a lot of good games and made a lot of studios lose their identity. To name a few, like we mentioned before, Rocksteady. Rocksteady, the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was a live service game. It wasn't as good as the previous games. The story was all over the place. Missions were made to be replayed and to grind. It's not Batman. It's not Arkham Asylum. It's not Arkham City. It's not the story-rich game that all players knew and expected from Rocksteady. And to take another example is BioWare. BioWare, in terms of writing, instead of in terms of story, in terms of design, it just lost it. If you take the Dragon Age Origins as an example, when you talk about a darkness, absolute darkness, and you're trying to describe what this darkness looks like, what evil looks like, they hit the nail on the head there when they showed you Darkspawn and what they're capable of and what they were doing. When they introduced the Broodmother, for God's sake, that was intense. That's how you should be. That's how the games should be. Games should be there to show you instead of tell you. They should show you with the landscape, with the environment, with the atmosphere, and set a tone for the game as, well, this is what you're going to expect. In contrast, what we got with Veilguard. Veilguard had lost not just in terms of writing, they lost in terms of character design, clothing design, enemy design. Basically everything started to look the same, and yeah, the game just is not the same anymore. It's not the game we all used to know and what we expected from BioWare when they made this Veilguard, which is why it failed horrendously. And to take another example, when we talk about creativity, a lot of the older games used to have limited engines, so they need to be very, very creative when it comes to art and design, because they wanted the player to see what's going on, to feel the atmosphere, to feel the tone of the game when it showed you a certain aspect of it. To expand further on this argument, let's take the older games and their remake counterparts. Silent Hill 2 really set the tone and atmosphere when it first came out and kept the player tense throughout the whole game. While Silent Hill 2 remake, sure, it had its moments when it was like this, but the amount of polish and clarity really killed the tension in the atmosphere. It's a way that having limited engine really helps the art and design showcase something for you, because horror games are should be more focused on uncertainty and friction instead of polish. You know, the more they are polished, the less they are scary. It is what it is. That doesn't mean that the game is bad, but it just lost its edge, as you could say, because sometimes not having something uncertain, like a wall that big with red and yellow and it's all merged together, you can't really tell when it's when the older engine, but you can tell that's disgusting. You just don't know what it is and you don't want to find out. But in the remake, it's, oh yeah, that's blood. Okay, yeah, I can see that. It's blood. It's different. One other thing I have noticed in modern games is that they have lost the trust in their players. They overtly have to guide you through their environment, be it with yellow paint, blue markers, or white cloth, and I think it's just them testing their games on the wrong audience. It's a little bit of throwback from the first thing we mentioned in this video. And to sum it all up, I don't think modern games are bad per se, or just lacking in talent or lacking in creativity. I think that there's been too much focus on engagement and player retention than there has been on taking risks and trying new things. And they've become more standardized. There have been trends that they needed to follow, or a checklist they need to, you know, check off, you know, some sort of things like this RPG game needs to have this and that, instead of just, you know, having fun and create something new to the players to experience. And unfortunately, there has been a shift in the last year with Clair Obscur as an example, with how much they put into this game, how much created, how the landscape, the environment, and even the story was creative. and I'm hoping to see more of this later on. Let me guys know what you think and how the modern games were, if they were more creative or they needed to be more creative, and what do you think of the way the older games used to make their games and how they used to guide their players. Let me guys know. Let me know your opinions. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, sub, or comment if you want on this video, and I'll catch you on the last one, episode 4, which we're gonna just tie this all together and mention the one game, the one that conquered them all. See you the next time. Ciao for now. Bye bye.